Right. So what did you learn in our previous session? So we learned about data types. In data types, what is object type? What is a reference data type? How do we create reference data type variables? And then what is typecasting? In typecasting, we learned about implicit and explicit. So whether we should do explicit typecasting or not, what happens if you do explicit typecasting? And we also learned about the constants and keywords in Java. We have seen the keywords from the Oracle documentation. So those were the things we have learned in our previous session. So are there any questions in previous session? We also learned about basics of array, how to create arrays, how to read the values from arrays. So have you got a chance to look at the video, or have you got a chance to practice?
Yes, Nikhil.
Any questions? Any doubts? Or any issues?
I had some issue for data types. It wasn't executing. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Okay. Can you share your screen?
Sure.
So, I give permission.
See?
Unresolved compilation problems.
Oh,
See, already it is showing where are the errors.
yeah. I mean, what is the error? Because I think I clearly followed your instruction.
Object. You see, it is giving the errors there. Object. Can you hover over the object?
This one?
Yeah. Just hover on it. Hover on the object. See.
Create class object. So
Did
that's
you
the
type
issue?
this, or did you type this, or did you copy paste it?
I typed it.
That's this. So who should be kept over there?
Oh, so that was the issue?
Yep. See.
Oh. Another one is like when you do SYSO, right? You get the thing, but for me, I have to type it.
Okay. Type SYSO.
For
Somewhere.
example, if I do SYSO,
Press Control space.
control space.
See, you got it.
Oh, and
Select
then
it. Select this. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Okay.
You still have issues below. These.
It should work now, right? If I run.
You still throw an error because there are compilation errors below. You see this referencing value.
This one?
Yeah. Because this you see the name, the variable above and below. There is a spelling mistake. Variable
Ref.
name. Ref, I and val. But what did you type on line 40?
Line 40. RIF. Oh, int.
That's gone. And then similar is the case with str value. So Java is case sensitive, but what did you use?
str value.
What is it, 46?
Oh.
Capital letter definitely S, Magan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh.
No, not S. It is V.
Yangji, don't teach me something.
You see that alphabet V. In the SISO statement, you use the capital, uppercase letter V, whereas in 46, you use
You mean this
lowercase
one?
V.
V.
Yeah.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this one.
See, gone. Now scroll. You cannot store a string inside a character. That is why it is throwing an error. You should comment this 57.
57.
You cannot store, right? You cannot store a string inside a character. I give this as an example to you to understand that you won't be able to store.
Like this?
You should comment this. It is not going to work. You cannot store a string inside a character. That's what we discussed yesterday.
Oh, so this was comment?
Yes. We commented. We saw it and then we commented it.
Oh.
And then again,
Bobby's
byte num val.
Bobby's string. You are trying
Uh-huh.
to store Bobby's string in a character. So that is not possible because that's a lower bytes than string. So
Okay.
you cannot do the higher one to the lower one. That's a invalid statement. That's why he is trying to say. So just comment that out. That's not going to work out.
Okay. So this one, what is wrong with it?
Now you
Can
have to tell me. We have already solved similar issues, so many. Now tell me what is this issue? Here is that variable.
Value. No value.
Java is case sensitive.
Can't we resolve to a variable? Change to byte num value.
The variable should start with a lowercase, correct?
Isn't it lowercase b?
No, that is
No,
already.
byte space.
No. It's not a
No.
data type.
Oh, you are giving a byte so as a variable. Okay.
So what is the issue?
You have
Byte.
No, you're giving wrong directions again. Java is case sensitive. This is a statement I'm saying for this issue. Java is case sensitive. Now observe
Yeah.
what are the cases that you used in this variable in line number 66, and where did you create this variable?
51.
Yeah. Now
Yeah,
compare
then
it.
lowercase v. Here you give uppercase.
Oh, v. Oh, ye Bhagwan.
Sorry, but run.
That is yes.
Maaf karo.
Now line number 72. Where is your variable?
My variable is in
Line number 72. We discussed that we cannot use keywords as variable names. Right? So either you have to add a variable name here or you have to comment out this line because it is not going to work out. It will always.
So this is comment, right?
Yes. That's all. Now you can run.
I can use this one, right, to run? Oh, okay. Now it worked finally. Thank you.
Be always careful where you are writing variables, using the variables. You should follow the naming convention. You should use the same variable that you used to create it.
Okay. Okay, I will keep in mind. Okay. Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Kenji or Bobby?
So we are good. Just coming directly to the class every day.
Sharing my screen back. Right. So we have seen how to create arrays in two different ways. So if you want to create an array while declaring it, if you want to assign values, you can assign it using this flower braces. The second way is first you declare an array and then later you add values to that array. How much value you have given, how much size you have given, those many values will be accommodated in this arrays. And then we also saw how to read the values from arrays. So writing or reading values into an array needs an index position. So if you want to read any value from this, you have to use that index position 0, 1 or 2, variable name and the index position. And if you want to declare an array, you can put the square braces beside the data type or beside the variable. We have seen both the example. In string data type, we have added braces over the data type, and here we have added the braces over the variable name. Okay, so both are correct. This is not wrong, and this is also not wrong. Both the syntax are correct. You can have braces over here or here. No issues. Okay. All right. Now, okay. So in this case, what is the difference between a variable and a array variable, normal variable and array variable? So why should we go? Anyway, we are using these index positions. So why can't we create 3 separate variables instead of creating array variable?
It's a set, right? Array is a set.
No, set is completely different. These are all group of values, right? Here also I'm creating anyway 3 different memory locations. Number of this is one index position where this Bobby is stored, and this is another, and this is another. So indirectly, though we are using numbers, these are 3 different positions, right? But why should we use the same variable? Why can't we use name 1, name 2, name 3? Different variables like we used in our data types. Why can't we use something like this? Why should we use, when are we using arrays, why should we use like this? Because, see, assume that this is a memory location. This is all our memory. Okay, this is our memory. Now when I create some variable int a is equals to 10, int b is equals to 20, string str1 is equals to some name. Okay, I have these variables. So when I create variables like this, what happens is for 10 there will be a memory allocated, for 20 there will be a memory allocated, for string there will be a memory allocated from somewhere. See, there will be, this memory is full of addresses. This address is 101, for example. This address might be 801, and this address might be 2001. It is not storing in sequential addresses. These values are stored somewhere which is available at that particular moment of time. These are all going to store in some random addresses. Okay. Whereas if you create an array variable, when you create this array variable, it is going to allocate memory. Okay, but this memory will be based on type of the variable. So for example, if I am using string array, okay, I am going to allocate a memory location for string array, but how much memory should I allocate? So that is why we are using a key, we are using new string, and then here we are mentioning the size. right? So when I give 3 here, okay, your Java will understand I would need 3 memory locations for my string variable or this array variable. So what is it going to do is it is going to allocate 3 consequent memory locations. One consecutive, sorry, not consequent, 3 consecutive memory locations. So when you are using multiple variables, it has to, when we call these values, it has to fetch values from different locations. But when you have arrays, it doesn't have to remember the 3 memory locations. It will just remember the starting position, like for example 201. So 201. So this will just remember the position of 201. So based on the size, when you say 0, 1, 2, so when you say array variable of 0, it will point to 201. And then when you use 1, it doesn't have to search in the memory location and find out the address and then get the value. It will just use this memory plus 1. Plus 1. So it will go to the next position automatically. So we are reducing the burden on your Java to search for that variable, to search for that memory location and then bring that value from that address. Instead of storing 3 different address values, we are storing only 1 address value, and based on that we are doing. Understood the difference between normal multiple variables and a single array variable? Is that clear? Okay. All right. So that is why instead of creating 3 different variables, we are creating a single array variable and we are using. So when we say names, it is going to point to the first address. When you say +1, it is going to the +1 of this memory. So that is the reason when you add an extra value, when we declare this as size 3, but when we try to add or when we try to read the value which is not present in this array, so the size is 3, so I have allocated 3 memory locations, that is 0, 1 and 2, but I am trying to add an extra value into this location. But do I have the memory address? I do not have the space to store Mikhail, so that is why it is saying array index out of bounds exception. Understood now?
Yes.
Right. Now we also read the values from array by using the same index mechanism. Okay, this is about single dimensional arrays, and in Java we also have multi-dimensional arrays. So generally we use this multi-dimensional arrays in the concept of matrices. If you want to create a matrix, remember the concept of matrix, we have rows and columns. In our childhood or in the we have learned about matrices, which will be in the form of so there will be a long brace. Then you have 1, 2, and then in the next row you will have 3, 4, something like this. Then you'll have another matrix, 5, 7, 8. Did you see these kind of matrices? We learned it, right? Addition of matrices, multiplication of matrices. So if you want to store data in the forms of matrices, in forms of rows and columns, we go for multi-dimensional arrays. So let us see how do we declare these multi-dimensional arrays, how do we write these multi-dimensional arrays, how do we use this multi-dimensional arrays. 3 things. Okay. So to declare multi-dimensional arrays, based on the number of dimensions, the number of braces depends on. So for single dimensional array, how many braces we added? Only one, right? We added only one square braces to this way. For multi-dimensional arrays, suppose okay, what should I take? Okay, I am going to create a character array. Char of two braces because I'm going to create multi-dimensional, two-dimensional array character. So I say sample of characters. This is method one, declaration. Declaration and assign. This is method one. So what is the method one in single dimensional array? You can use these flower braces and add all the values you want. Okay, everybody is having the issue. Are you not able to hear me?
It's breaking
Yeah,
out.
yeah, breaking out. Yeah.
Why it's happening? Just changing my network. Give me a second. Now, can you hear me clearly, or is it still breaking? Hello? Still the same?
Yeah, I think still same.
Oh, he didn't talk yet, Yanji. Start something, Nikhil, then only you'll know it's. He didn't even talk, you're saying it's the same.
No, we're hearing kind of cracking voice, right?
Really?
Yeah, when he says, like, can you guys hear me?
Okay, is it still the same? I switched back to my Wi-Fi.
It's
Yeah,
good
it's
now.
good.
I mean, it gets good, but later, I don't know what is up with your.
Okay, let's continue.
Let's continue anyway.
All right. So, for single dimensional array, to declare and assign values to that array variable, we use flower braces, right? So in a similar way, if you want to use or if you want to assign a values to a multi-dimensional arrays, so I have two dimensions, but those two dimensions are belonging to the same array type, right? So what I'm going to do is to declare an array, we have to use this flower braces, but inside this, I have two dimensions, so I'm going to have two dimensions again. Separate each dimensions, I'm going to have this separate values. So these are character, this is a character array, so I can create characters inside this. A, B, comma, C. A, F. Understood? So I've created multi-dimensional array. If you want to declare and assign the values of the same line for a multi-dimensional array, this is the syntax. Variable and how many dimensions you want, 2, 3, 4, how many you want, you can give those many places here. But generally we will stop at 2. There is no need for us to go to the third dimension because it is going to become more complex when we are going to get the values from inside it. Okay. This is a variable name and these are the values. to mention or to understand that this is a set of values or these are a group of values, we have to use this flower braces, open and close. But inside, for each dimension, we have to set the values. So for each dimension, you have to set these braces. Understood? Okay. Now let us see the method 2 of declaring array. Okay. So this time I'm going to use numbers short numbers array of 2 dimensional. So see, intentionally I'm using braces once over here and the ones beside the variable name so that you will get accustomed whether with this or this. Both are not a problem. Both we can use. Okay. So second way, we have to create an object and we have to declare the size if we are declaring and assigning the values later. So new short. Actually, if you want to declare and then use new short of. Here I want how many rows and how many columns. I want 2 rows and 3 columns, for example, or I want 2 rows and 2 by 2. It's up to us how many you want. 2 by 3, it's okay, it's fine, 2 by 3. Now I want to assign values to this, but how do I know? Here I know the index position is 0, 1 and 2, but what might be the positions when I have 2 dimensions? How should I use the positions? Okay, now let me show that. Help you with this. Right. So now the positions that I give is 1 is 2, right, and the other one is 3. That means this is number of rows and this is number of columns. 2 rows and 3 columns. Okay, so how do I determine the index positions of these 2 rows and 3 columns? Okay, let us see. So 2 means how many values? 0, 1. These are the only positions that we have. 2 means 0 and 1. Okay, 3 means 0, 1 and 2. Index positions we can create from 3. If we start from 0, we have 0, 1, 2. For 2, if it is 0 and 1. So we have this. Now let us create a matrix or 2-dimensional array positioning. Okay. So now you see this 0, mix it with 0, 0, 0. Mix it with, see this 0, mix it with 1, 0, mix it with 2. So 0th row, right? 2 rows. So you have 0, comma 0. And then you have 0, comma 1. And then you have 0, comma 2. This is a matrix. The position is determined or position is bought from this rows and columns. So first row is 0th row. See, this is 1 column, this is 2nd column, this is 3rd column, and 2 rows. So I'm dividing this into 2 rows. This is first row, 2nd row. 2nd row will be starting from 1. So again, the positions of columns will be first column, 2nd column, 3rd column. So here the positions will be 1, comma 0, 1, comma 1, 1, comma 2. Understood? How do we determine the positions? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions. 2 by 3 matrix. 2 rows, 3 columns. Okay. Now, tell me, suppose I have 3 by 3. 3 rows and 3 columns. Now tell me, what are the positions here? I'll divide this for you. Okay, 3 rows.
Same 12th matrix.
3 columns. Now tell me the positions. What should I write here? What is the index or what indexes should I use?
0, 0, 0,
Okay.
0, 1,
Here, 0, comma 1.
No, no, on the another column. Yeah,
0, comma 1,
0, comma 2.
0, comma 2. What is the position of this? This one.
2, comma
0,
0.
2, comma
2, comma 0.
2, comma
0.
3.
2, comma 2. 2, comma 2.
This 2, comma 2.
Okay.
What is this?
1, comma 2.
Is it?
1, comma 1.
This 1, comma 1.
Yeah, 1,
second
comma
two
1.
is this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then this,
That is 2,
2,
comma
0.
0.
comma 0. So now you understood which index or which group of values will create this position. So if you want to read the values from this position or write the values into this position, which index we have to use, right? You understood which index we have to use for which position. Okay, you understood it, or do you want me to show another example?
Understood.
Okay, super. Let's go back. Now here we have 2 by 3 matrix. Now I want to store values into this. Nuts of 0. It's a short value, so I'll just say 12. Okay. Now tell me the positions here. 0 and 0. That's it, right? Now I can use the same. Just copy pasting and update the values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Now tell me the positions. 0, 0. 0, 1.
0, 1.
13, 0, 2, which will be my 14. And then what is the positions to start with second?
1, 0.
1, 0.
1.
So here I am using 2, 4. Now what is the position for second one?
1, 1, 1, 2.
1, 1. Third one? 1, 2. This is how we are going to store the values into a multi-dimensional array. Understood? Here we are using only single brace, but here we have to use, since it is a multi-dimensional, we are using
But you said this is 2 by 3, right? Then we don't have that 0, 2. Because 0, 0, 0, 1.
two rows,
Oh, 2
three
by 3, 2
columns.
by 3. Yeah, 3. Okay.
That 0, 1, 2 is 3 columns.
Yeah.
It is
3
3
columns,
by
2
2.
rows.
Yeah, if it is 3 by 2, like you said, it will be 0, 0, 0, 1,
Yeah, correct.
1,
correct.
0, 1, 1, 2, 0, 2, 1.
3 columns, 2 rows, correct.
Understood now?
Yeah.
Right. Now for reading the values from a multi-dimensional array. Similar, suppose I want to read value 14. So what should I use?
0, 2. Names of 0, 2.
Names of 0 and names of 2. So if you want to get first row, third value, third column, then I'll use 0, comma. Let us run this. See, is it giving us 14? Right? 0, comma 2, position value is 14. So we are getting that value without any issues. Clear? All right. So this is all about creation of single dimensional arrays, multi-dimensional arrays. You can also have 3-dimensional arrays, but it's not needed. If you want, we can just discuss about how do we declare or what are the positions that we get out of 3-dimensional arrays. For example, I have a 3-dimensional arrays of 2, 3 and then 3. For example, I have 3 dimensions. So what are the numbers I have? 0, comma 1, 0, comma 1, comma 2, and then it will go for 0, comma 1, comma 2, x, y, and z. So do we need z dimension anytime for us? It's not needed, right? We are not dealing with signals and we are not crossing the signals, or we are not creating any 3D world. So we do not need this z category. Even if we need, you are going to use the C in this box, but you are going to combine with 0, 0 and 0, and then 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, 0. Z dimension I cannot represent here. This is x, this is y. I can represent only 2, but we also have z dimension here. So z dimension will be like this, right? So to represent these positions 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, 0. 3 positions will be in x, y, z. I cannot represent it here, but the same mechanism goes here. 0 combines with this 0 and then this 0. 0 combines with this 1 and then 0. 0 combines with this 2 and 0. And then next, we have 0 combines with 1 and 1 combines with 0. 0 combines with 1 and this 1 combines with 1. 0 combines with 1 and this 1 combines with 2. So like that, we'll get 9, no, not 9, more than 9 values. Okay, so anyway, 3 dimension is not needed, but if at all somebody asks you, you can get the positions from this. Okay. In Selenium, we use maximum up to 2 dimension only. Okay. All right. So, do you remember matrix addition? Yes, it's a task for you. Task add matrices. So, what are the matrices and what are the values? Matrices values are 120, 121, and then 140, 141. This is matrix 1. Okay. Then matrix 2. Okay. Matrix 2 is say 240, 241, 242. Then here it will be 280, 280. So these are the 2 matrices that I want you to add and show. So what you have to do here is, these are the 2 matrices. Perform the addition. Okay, this addition you have to perform. So what are the tasks? Create 2, create 2 dimensional, or create 2 matrices. As 2 by 2, 2 cross 2, 2 rows and 2 columns. First task. This is your first task. Create 2 matrices. Second task. Read or print each value from matrices. Okay. And then third task. Perform addition of both the matrices and display the result matrix. Understood the task? First task is you have to create two matrices with 2 by 2 dimensions with these values. Okay, and then print each value. I want you to print each value from each matrix, and then perform the addition of these two matrices, and then print the result matrix. Understood? Understood the task? You know how to perform the addition, right? How do you want me to show? Okay. Suppose this is one matrix 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I have another matrix 10, 11, 12, and 13. So if I want to perform the addition of these two matrices, I have to add this and this, I have to add this and this, I have to add this and this, I have to add this and this. So my result matrix will be 11, comma 13, and then in next row 12 plus 3 is 15, comma 13 plus 4 is 17. So this will be my result matrix, and I want you to print this. Understood? Alright, Sharap and is that clear? What are the tasks?
Yes.
Alright, so this is all about arrays. Let's move to our next topic. Multi-dimensions, displaying data and then adding data. So why am I stopping with adding data is since we haven't completed our looping statements. I can also give you multiplication of matrices, but multiplication of matrices deals with something different logic, right? You have to compare, you have to multiply these rows with the columns. So to do that and to make it easy for us to understand the multiplication, we need looping statements, but we haven't completed it yet. So I'm not giving such kind of task. We are going the same position with the same position. Okay. Now let's go back. Arrays is done. So let's pick with the new topic, that is conditional statements. Okay. So since you are already working on ETL, you might be aware about what is conditional statements. You have conditional statements in SQL as well, right?
Yes.
What is the keyword that you use in SQL to write conditions?
There are a lot if then, case when,
Okay, in SQL also.
decoding, while.
Where condition, right? If you want to apply some condition on SQL query, select query, what is the keyword that we use?
Yeah, where and
Where. Yeah, where. And then if you want to combine multiple conditions, we use and or. Right? It might be if else in your stored procedures. I'm not sure about whether you use if and else or not. But here we are having some conditional statements. Those conditional statements. C4. Conditional statements. So here the conditional statements that we have is if else. So in Java, we can create conditions create conditions and use. So why do we need these conditional statements? Suppose I'll say there is a student or there are students. There are students who should be categorized based on grading. Okay. Now, suppose I have, for example, student 1 who scored marks grading of 30%. Okay. This candidate should be failed. Student 2 scored 95%, this candidate should be marked as distinction. For student 3 who scored 50% should be marked as average or something like that, some grading. So till now we have seen this code will execute from top to bottom. There is no interruption in the flow. Right? So it is going line by line execution. So if it is going line by line execution, I have a student and I'm assigning it to the fail category. Then I got 95% student. Should I still assign him to the fail category? No. We should assign him to distinction. And then if we have another student who is having 50%, then we should assign him to average person. That means we are controlling the flow. If you want to control the flow of execution, if you want to execute something based on some criteria, for example, you go to, do you use ATM? You are aware of ATM, right? ATM's functionality. I'm not sure about yours, but in India, you enter into an ATM, you insert your card, and then it asks for your PIN. So what happens if you give a wrong PIN? Let us forget about ATM. You have internet banking website or Facebook. You opened a Facebook page, you gave your username, and you entered wrong password. What will happen? What will happen?
Card will get declined.
Okay. Directly first time it will it decline the card or will it block the card?
It will say wrong pin.
Please enter. It might say based on the verbiage they use. It might say a wrong pin or you entered the wrong credentials. Please enter a valid pin. Some credentials based on the ATM and based on the verbiage they use. Okay, you entered the wrong pin second time also. What happens?
Second attempt, something it's saying. Third
same.
attempt, it will block the card.
Third attempt, it will block the card. Similarly, with your internet banking accounts, if you try multiple times with wrong password, it will block your account for a day, or it will completely permanently block your account and you have to visit office. Right? But how does it know? Okay, if we are failing the wrong, we are giving the wrong password, it is asking us to enter second time. And then even if it is giving the wrong, then the system is asking us to enter third time. Okay, so you understood this flow. But now, when you give the password correctly the first time, what happens?
You can access.
You can access the transactions, or you can perform the transactions like check the balance, withdrawal, or get the statement, or whatever the actions that you want to perform, you can perform using the ATM. Right? So the first scenario, you used the same. You inserted the card, you entered your PIN. Okay. In the second scenario also, you inserted a card, you entered the PIN. Both same steps. But when you entered a wrong PIN, it was asking you to enter the PIN second time. When you entered a right PIN, it is taking you to the home screen. See, how is it controlling the flow? Based on the condition, whether the PIN is correct or not, right? So if it is correct, it should take you to the actions, or it should allow you to perform the actions on ATM. If it is wrong, it should ask you to re-enter the PIN. So the same ATM machine, the same person, but when we perform different actions, it is behaving differently, right? So in those cases, we need control flow statements. One of the control flow statement is conditional statement, that is if else statements. So if something is happening, then do this. If something else is happening, then do this. Understood? Why do we use these conditional statements?
Yeah.
Conditions are used to perform verifications and change the flow of execution. changing the flow of execution. Okay, and then we can have conditional statements in two different ways in Java. Java, we have only two different ways to perform these conditional statements, or changing the flow of execution can happen in two different ways. One is using if-else conditions, and the other one is using switch case statements. These are the two conditional statements which are available in Java. Okay. For now, let us see if-else conditions. Once we are done with this if-else, let's go to switch case. Okay. So for example, okay. I want to go to exhibition. Okay. If someone has ticket, deny entry if they do not have ticket. It's the same, right? Everywhere. You will be allowed into a movie theater or any other places with a ticket. If you have a ticket, or if you have an entry pass, say this, we call it as entry pass. Generally, ticket means in US, you feel that it is a fine statement, right? Imposed fine is a ticket. What I mean by ticket is entry pass. So we have to allow someone if they have the entry pass, and we have to deny from entry if they do not have the entry pass. So suppose I'll create string student 1. Create boolean entry pass. If I say true, yes, we have entry pass. Okay, and then I have boolean no entry pass. False. No entry pass means false. They do not have the tickets. Has entry pass. Okay, fine. Boolean values. Now, let's do one thing. I'll show you one more thing. Instead of adding or doing hard coding, I'll give you. I'll ask at one time when we are running, we are checking, right? When the user comes to a exhibition stall or somewhere, we'll check the pass and then we are right at runtime. So to create a runtime variable or runtime values, we can give runtime values from the console. Like we are taking the input from the user. If you want to take the input from the user, then we have to use this scanner class. Okay. Let me import this scanner. C is equals to new scanner. Okay. Import scanner from java.util package. All right. Now we have the scanner, and this scanner is going to take input. Stream. Scanner of file, source, readable, stream. Okay. Input stream is system.in. We are giving the input via system console, right? This console. So I'm saying, okay, I'm taking the input from system.input, whatever, wherever the position, wherever the input we can give, we are taking this. This is a scanner class object. Just remember the syntax for now. Later we can discuss what is, why should we create this object, what is this value, why should we give. Just remember this line for now. Okay. Now I'm going to read the values from scan dot next. This is going to read me the value. Okay. String. Okay. I want to print the value just to show you whether it is able to read or not. plus. Okay. That's all right. We should know when should we enter, right? Please confirm entry pass. Okay. Let me run this and see. You see, it is asking, please confirm you have entry pass. Then I'll say yes. Enter. Value from user is yes. So you understood? We are reading from here and then we are printing it here. Whatever the value you entered here will be read by this scanner class, and then you are entering it here. Okay. Hello. You understood this, right? Scanner class. Just remember the lines for now. Later you'll understand what is this new, why should we use scanner object, and why should we use this. All these things you will understand.
How did you take that system.in? Did you do the control space again there?
No. I typed it. I remember it. See, this is okay. This is the concept of constructors. You see, scanner class has multiple constructors and it is having multiple inputs. File source, input stream. From which input stream you are taking? I am taking from system input. But I'm not taking from any Excel files. I'm not taking from any other machine. I'm taking the input from my system. So that is why I wrote system.in. I wrote it. I typed it. Is that clear? Okay.
Yeah.
So you just remember it. If you want to take the input from console, you have to write these lines. This one and this one. Okay. This is creating an object for the input or the console. From the console, you have to read, right? To read, you have to use the next method. This next method will take you to the next line and read the values. So you have to use this. Just remember these both lines. That's all. That's enough. Okay. Now. Okay. So I'm going to write or implement the condition. This one. Allow if someone has entry pass and deny if they do not have entry pass. Right. So to perform that, if where am I storing the value? Inside this has pass. Right. Entry has pass dot equals ignore case yes. Okay. If this pass is yes, if you are saying has pass is yes, then what should I say? Please enter have a nice or enjoy the execution. Right? If I say yes, then it should enter into the, then I should say this sentence. Right? Okay. Else whatever might be the value, then I have to give to enter the pass. Okay. Now let's see. Let us run this. Okay, please confirm you have entry pass. I'll say no. What is it printing? We are sorry. But what about this line? Why did it get executed? Because we are applying the condition. If you have pass, then execute these statements. If you do not have pass, then execute these statements. So your if condition is changing the flow of execution. Understood? If condition will be able to change the flow of execution. If the condition matches, it enters into if condition. If the condition fails, it enters into else condition. This is simple if. Simple if else. Understood?
It's true, right? Instead of true, you are saying equals ignore case.
That we'll discuss when we are comparing strings. Okay, just forget about it. This is the condition. Okay. Okay. I'm saying because I'm taking the input from the user, whether you have a pass or not, right? I'm taking from here. When I said, please confirm you have entry pass, then the user said no. Right? I have to get his response and then compare his response with my guidelines or with my criteria. Right? So I'm reading this value using this. So where is the response stored now? Inside hash pass variable. Right? So the response is stored in hash pass variable, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I should validate the response. Right? The response is in hash pass variable. So this is hash pass variable. I am checking whether this is a yes or no. If this value, this variable has a value, yes, then perform this. If this variable has not yes, that might be anything else. No, nah, I don't, any variable, any values, then it goes into this. Understood? To compare the value present inside this, I'm using this equals ignore case. Okay, we'll learn a little more about this equals ignore case when we go to string operations. String operations. Okay, that is a separate session. But now you understood, right? What happens in if else conditions? Okay, if you are having issues understanding this, let me give another example. Example 2. ATM transactions. Okay. For example, I want to ATM transaction. So my PIN, I say integer, my PIN is equals to 7892 something 7892. This is my PIN. Now I'm going to ask the user to enter his PIN. I stored my PIN value. I'm asking the user to store PIN. Enter PIN. So I'm going to read the value from user, but that is going to be an integer value. So here I'm going to use next int. If I want to read an integer value from the console, then I have to use this integer. Next int. Okay. I said this as because I already have the same object. So this is one more thing. In single class, you cannot have the same variable multiple times. Okay, I cannot have scanner SC and scanner SC. It will create or it will throw me a duplicate error. You see here, multiple markers at this line. Resource link SCR is never closed. Duplicate variable SC. This is duplicate variable because we already have a variable with the name SC. So that is why I changed it to SCR. Okay, scanner object. Now this is going to read the value which the user entered. Now, if the user entered value is in entered PIN, if entered PIN is equals to my PIN, if the PIN, if your PIN and the entered PIN is matching, then say today. This is an introduction screen. I'm just writing this. If not, then you check your and enter. This is the message that I want to show. Okay. Now let me run this and let me run this again. Yes. Okay. Entry pass. I'll say yes. Okay. Please enter. Enjoy the exhibition, and it is reading again for the input. So I'm giving wrong pin 1 2 3 4. Okay. When I press enter, you see what is it saying? Entered wrong pin. Please check your pin and re-enter. So you see my pin. I have already stored my pin in the database, and then now I'm taking the input from user. I am comparing the entered pin with my pin. This is my pin, and this is the entered pin. I'm comparing both the values. If both are matching, I'll say, all right, how may I help you today? If these are not matching, then I'll say this. Understood now? Bobby, shut up, and Angie.
Yes.
You understood, right? When you enter the correct pin, it is entering into if condition. When you enter the wrong pin, it is going to the else condition. So this is how we are controlling the flow of execution. Once it is entering the else condition, it cannot go back into the if condition. Once it enters the if condition, it will never enter the else condition. These things you have to remember. If the condition is matching, it will enter this block of statements. If the condition is not matching, it will execute this block of statements. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. So since there is a single statement inside the if block, I wrote it directly like this. But if there are multiple statements inside the if block, for suppose, select a transaction, withdraw, change pin on check balance. Okay, I have two statements inside the if condition. The pin is correct. I'm saying, okay, all right, how may I help you today? Please select a transaction. Do you want to withdraw or change pin or check balance? Okay. Now you see it is throwing an error at the else condition because I have more than one statement. So if I have more than one statement inside the if condition, then I have to use this block. I have to make this as a block. Now you see the error is gone. Right? So if you have more than one statement, you have to use this block. If you do not have, or if you have only a single statement, then without mentioning these braces, you can directly write the code. It is a single statement. Is that clear?
What is the error? Error message.
Message. It will be a syntax error.
Okay.
See? Syntax error on token else, delete this token. But we want it, but I'm not going to do it. I want the else condition. To make it correct, what I should do is I have to add these blocks. Okay? Is that clear? If it is a single line statement inside any conditional block, we have to use, it is not needed or it is not mandatory to use these blocks. But if you have more than one statement inside any block, if or else, you should mandatorily use or you should mandatorily mention this braces. Clear?
Yeah, what did you put for system error? Sys E?
It came automatically, I did not put. Should be out. If you want to print out those errors, it will come. It's not needed for us. We want to print it inside the console, so I'm just using out. It came because I typed this. So, paste. When I press the control space, you see there are three things. Oh, just a second. My power got cut. I'm connecting to another network where I have data backup. Hello? Can you hear me, guys?
Now, yes.
Oh,
Okay,
yes.
okay. There was a power cut, so I had to change my network again. So sorry. Yeah. So you see, when I press control space, yeah, you see there are three different things. System SISO error, print to standard error, print to standard output, systrace, print current to standard output. So these are the three
It is not.
different.
It is not showing me these three only. It is showing that system.
You might have typed SYSO. Just type SYS and press control space. Now you are seeing it.
No. Okay, I'll check later.
Yeah. Okay. So I might have without typing O, I might have typed I might have control space and then pressed enter. That's why it was showing system.error. Okay. But I was intending to use system.out only. But that's also not wrong. So when I use the system.out, it is printing in this console, right? It is printing in this console. When I use system.error, it will print here in the problems. Okay. Right. Let's ignore that. It's not a problem. So you understood this. How do we use this if else conditions, right? Basic. If the condition is matching, it will enter into the if block. If the condition is not matching, then it will go to the else block. Clear?
If else can understandable because we are writing queries. That
Okay.
one, that scanner, SC, new scanner,
Okay. Here.
system that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's your, I mean, is there
So
any problem?
before we use if else, we have to give this scanner.
No, not to use if else. We don't need this. Okay. So I'm using these statements just to get the input from the user. See, what is the scenario I said? Allow if someone has entry pass, but how would I know that someone has entry pass? I should ask a question and then get the answer from them. Right?
Correct.
To get that answer from the user, how can a user enter the value? From any input devices. So this is my input place.
Yeah.
So I'm asking someone that do you have an entry pass, and the user entered yes.
Yeah.
So I have to read this and understand this, right? So that is why
Okay.
I'm creating these lines. But if you don't want, okay, let me remove this. Without the scanner class, I'll create another example.
No, let it be there. Now I understood. So if you want to read that, we have to use the scanner
These lines.
method.
Exactly, these lines. Otherwise, it is not needed. Okay, example 3,
Okay.
I'll say example 3 is categorize pass or fail. Pass or fail. Okay, so suppose int marks is equals to 30. Okay, if marks is greater than 35, I'll say congratulations. Okay, else, okay, else I'll say better luck next time. Okay, better luck next time. Now you see, I gave my marks as 30, which means this is not matching the condition. If it is greater than 35, then it will print this. But my marks is less than 35. So it is going into the else condition. Last one. Let's ignore these all will come from the values. Let's ignore. But now you see here, better luck next time.
Okay, if you want it in a readable form, a scannable form, like enter your mark like that, then we have to use the scanner function. What is that called? Function or constructor? What is
This is a
that
class.
scanner?
We have a scanner class. We are creating an object for scanner class.
Okay.
Okay, we'll discuss this later anyway. Classes and objects. Why do we use this new keyword and what is this? All these things we'll discuss later when we go into the classes and objects or object-oriented programming concepts. And we'll also discuss about methods. This next hint is a method which is present inside the scanner class. Okay. So we'll discuss in detail later, but for now you just remember these two lines. If you want to read a string value, use next. If you want to read an integer value, use int. If you want to read a character value, then you have next char. See, next short, next byte, next float, next long. So whatever the value that the user enters, if you want to read it, based on the type, you can select this value. Okay. Now you see, when I entered, I add a third example just to separate these two examples. I added an extra line here to print. Let me run this again. Let's say some random text. Value is we are sorry. Okay, and then it is asking the pin 7892. Okay, all right. How may I help you? And then third example, pass or fail. What is it saying? Better luck next time. Right? Okay. Now I'll change this 30 to 60, which is matching my condition. It is 60 is greater than 35, right? Yes. So see, third example. What is the output it is giving for us? Congratulations. Right? So it is giving us the appropriate output. Okay. For example, anywhere we have marks between 1 to 100, 0 to 100. Right? Okay. Let me give this marks as 125. Are 125 valid marks for 0 to 100? No, right? Yeah. So 125 valid marks, but it is going to give us congratulations. So we can add multiple conditions here. Marks is greater than 35 and less than 100. Then you say congratulations. Okay. Else, if it is between 35 and 100, you will say congratulations. For any other value, it is going to say better luck next time. See, third example, pass or fail. What are the marks that I gave? 125. It is saying better luck next time. So I scored more than 100, but it is still saying me better luck next time. So is it the correct message? No, right? When should we say a candidate to better luck when should we say this better luck next time to a candidate? When he scores between 0 and 35, right? 0 till 35 is a fail.
Yes.
Okay. So instead of normalizing everything, so I'm going to add another condition which is else if. Okay. Else if marks is greater than or equals to 0 and marks is less than or equals to 35, then I'll say better luck next time. Else, if I give any other value which is not between 0 to 35 or 35 to 100. Should be less than or equal to. Even if I get 100, it should say congratulations. Right? If I give any other value other than this,
Invalid.
so please enter valid marks. Right? Now if I run this, let's see. Please enter valid marks. You see, it is a cut message now, right? I gave 125, but my reading or pass or fail is between 0 to 100 only. I gave 125. Okay. Now let me give minus 12. Okay. Now let me run. Do we have minus 12 marks in any examinations? I mean, not about the competitive exams like IIT or but normally, generally in schools, we do not have minus 10, minus 12, right? We get either 0 or positive, but no negative marks. There is nothing less than 0 in our grading. Now I am giving intentionally, I am giving minus 12. This is also an invalid mark. So I am saying, please enter valid marks. Okay. Let me run this.
It will not take that negative 12. We didn't cover that category.
This one. This one.
Okay, you gave else. Okay.
Please enter valid marks, because it is not between 0 to 100, it is not going to enter into if or else. So the generic category is else. So whatever the value or whatever, if any value that you are passing is not matching any of the conditions here, it will enter into the general else block. Is that clear?
If I want to give the dynamically that variable, then I have to use that scanner. Otherwise, if
Exactly.
okay,
All right.
like I have to enter the mark
Yeah,
35, 40. Then I have to give the scanner a
Scanner.
CR new scan. Okay.
Exactly. Okay. It's 8:25. I'm sorry, I didn't see the time. Okay. Let us stop here. Do we have any questions on this? Single dimensional arrays, multi-dimensional arrays, or the task which I gave, and then in the conditional statements on the example 1, example 4, example 3.
No, we need a practice. That's it.
Yeah, we
You have any questions, sir?
It's quite understandable. We have to get hang of that words, like how to enter that system out, those things.
If you start practicing, to start writing code, then
Yeah.
all right. So we have 4 more minutes. Let us see some points about the if else conditions. Same if else conditions. We have some theoretical points. I can wind up in these 4 minutes. Okay. So if condition is used to create the verifications that we have already saw, and then such as to create this or that situation. Then we have this or that, either pass or better luck next time. This or that situations. If you have this or that situations, we go with if else conditions. Okay. The next note, you cannot have any statement in between if and else blocks. That is the reason. You see, this is my if block, and this is my else if block, and this is my else block. Okay. I'll mention this as block. Okay. And then if I try to write something like this, integer a is equals to 10. You see, is else, what is it saying? Syntax error, else cannot be there, because it is assuming that, okay, it is ended here, and then this else is without if. So else cannot exist without if condition. So that is the reason it is saying syntax error at this place, instead of saying at this place because this is a valid statement. There is no error in this statement. That is why it is saying this is having syntax error, because without if condition, else condition cannot be existing. Else cannot go anywhere without if. There is if condition, then we can have else. If there is no if, then we cannot have else. Understood? This is one. You cannot have any statements in between if else if or else if and else. In between these, you cannot have any statements. The other thing is, suppose if I remove this, it doesn't throw any error. Is it throwing an error? If this condition is matching, it will execute this statement. If this is not matching, it won't do anything. That's all. But that means if can exist without the else condition. You understood?
Yes.
Okay, without the else. If this condition is matching, it will execute this. Otherwise, it won't execute this. That's all. But if you have to perform other action, then you need else conditions. Without if, you cannot have else conditions. You see, it will say syntax error else. Because without the if condition, you cannot have else statements. Else will always be coupled with if, but it is not mandatory for if to couple with else. Understood? If you can go independently where else cannot, else should be accompanied by if. If can go independently where else cannot, else should be accompanied by if. Should be always accompanied by if. Without if, you cannot have else statements. You can have if or else blocks without braces only in one situation, that is when there is only a single statement in the block. If you have more than one single statement, then you need to use braces. I have already shown you this, right? Here example. I added the brace. If you are having multiple statements, you mandatorily need braces. If you are having a single statement, you see I did not have any braces here. If it is a single statement, no need of using braces. If it is multiple statements, you should mention this block. Okay. And you can have if else statements in an if else conditions. This is also something like that. So inside this, if I want to add some more if else conditions here, I can have it.
So the condition has to come in the parenthesis and the expression has to be in the curly braces.
Not the expression, statements. Whatever you want to execute, if the condition matches, then that should be inside this curly braces. This is the condition, or you said expression. This is the expression. If this expression is matching, it should execute some block of statements. That block of statements should be mentioned inside these braces. If it is a single, it is not needed to call as a block. Right? So that is why you don't enter them in braces. It's not needed. But even if you enter, it's not wrong. Nothing wrong. You see here I entered. Nothing wrong. But we can also go without braces. That is this. See, this I told you, it is not a mandatory thing or it is not so big thing to learn. But why am I giving this information that with or without braces? Sometimes in system exams, I mean written exams, when you have some oral questions, objective questions that you need to answer, they will give some syntax and ask you to identify which one is having wrong. So if I let you know only that, okay, you should write this is the syntax, then if you see like this, then you think, okay, braces are not there, so this might be the wrong one. That is the reason I'm showing you both with and without braces. So in real time, most of the time we use with the braces one. So yeah.
Simple if else, right? There you put, okay, if condition, okay, and okay, got it. So
If
you are
condition.
not using the curly braces.
Yeah, I'm not using curly braces. But here,
When you
I'm
want
having
to
more
write,
than one
okay.
statement, I'm using curly braces.
Okay.
Okay. For a single statement also, it is not wrong to use curly braces. You see, I have only single statement, but I used curly braces. It's not wrong. We can use it. Okay. All right. Any questions, guys?
No.
Okay. Chill. Have a good night. Let's meet tomorrow.
Okay. Mm.